Hi, everybody. It's Monday, the 4th of May, and that means we are beginning our 8th week of shelter at home. Eight weeks we're starting today, and it's getting hard. I know. And we're getting frustrated and grumpy. And the moon is going to be full this week, and so that's going to be hard for people too, because that makes people a little goony. But we're going to make it. And it's going to be okay. And we're going to learn new ways of being and doing and connecting to each other and existing. And that's a good thing. And we're going to remember that there are some people who are making this time extra hard. But we don't need to pay attention to them. We need to pay attention to the people who are helping. Like today, I grocery shopped for 5 different families plus myself and delivered them around, and that was wonderful. And while I was at the grocery store, the man behind me, Frank, was there doing the shopping because his wife Annie is recovering from 2 sets of surgery for cancer. And the people were all very generous and kind and helpful and supportive of one another. And there's Leah. Oh, look. Say hi, Leah. Little kitten. People are really amazing. And so we need to give attention to those folks, to the people who are doing really wonderful and fabulous things, and not to the people who are making this time harder than it needs to be. So that's what I want you to think about today. And for this whole week, as we enter week 8, is to look for the good and the stories of the helping and the supportive folks and all of that. Which brings me to my friend Carrie, who made me a present. This is Rosie. Rosie is a dragon. Look, she's got sparkly wings and they're bendy, and her legs are bendy. All of them are very bendy, and she's so fabulous and sparkly and red with a purple belly, and she's wonderful. And I tried to get her to sit right here while I talk, but I talk with my hands too much, which you already knew, so she fell off. But she's going to sit over here while we have a story today. And we have a story that my mama used to read me when I was a little girl, and I'm sure I've read it since then, but I don't remember it being this way. And I started to read it to you last week, and I stopped the video because I got all confused. It's called Bedtime for Frances by Russell Hoban, pictures by Garth Williams. And I know that my mama read it to me because if we flip in here to this page, my mommy changed the words. She didn't like the words that were written there because they're about spanking. And she didn't like that. So she changed the words. And I think she changed it when she read it to me because I don't remember it being so fussy. So I'm going to read it the way I remember it, a little less fussy than it's written. So I hope Mr. Russell Hoban will forgive us. But it's about this badger whose name is Frances. And the dedication says, "This one is for Ursula." You ready? Okay. The big hand of the clock is at 12. The little hand is at 7. It's 7 o'clock. It is bedtime for Frances. Mother said it's time for bed. Father said it's time for bed. Frances said, "I want a glass of milk." "All right," said Father. "All right," said Mother. "You may have a glass of milk." Frances drank the milk. Carry me to my room, Father." "All right," said Father. "Piggyback," said Frances. So Father carried her piggyback to her room. Father kissed Frances good night. Mother kissed Frances good night. Frances said, "May I sleep with my teddy bear?" Father gave her the teddy bear. Frances said, "May I sleep with my doll too?" Mother gave her the doll. "Good night," said Father. "Good night," said Mother. "Did you kiss me?" said Frances. "Yes," said Mother and Father. "Kiss me again," said Frances. Father kissed her again, and Mother kissed her again, and they closed the door. "May I have my door open?" said Frances. So Father opened the door. "Good night," said Mother and Father. "Good night," said Frances. Frances could not sleep. She closed her eyes, but she still could not sleep, so she began to sing a little song about the alphabet. She made it up as she went along. A is for apple pie, B is for bear, C is for crocodile combing his hair. D is for dumplings. Frances kept singing through E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, and R, and she had no trouble until she got to the end of the alphabet. S is for sailboat, T is for tiger, U is for underwear down in the dryer. Frances stopped. Dryer did not sound like tiger. She started to think about tigers. She thought about big tigers and little tigers, baby tigers and mother and father tigers, sister tigers and brother tigers, aunt tigers and uncle tigers. "I wonder if there are any tigers around here," she said. Frances looked around the room. She thought maybe she could see a tiger in the corner. She was not afraid, but she wanted to be sure. So she looked again. She was sure she could see a tiger. She went to tell Mother and Father. "There is a tiger in my room," said Frances. "Did he bite you?" said Father. "No." "Did he scratch you?" said Mother. "No." "Then he is a friendly tiger," said Father. "He will not hurt you. Go back to sleep." "Do I have to?" asked Frances. "Yes," said Mother and Father. Father kissed her, Mother kissed her. Frances went back to bed and finished her song on the way. She closed her eyes again, but she still could not sleep. Frances opened her eyes and looked around. She saw something big and dark. "Giants are big and dark," she thought. Maybe that's a giant. I think it is a giant. I think the giant wants to get me." She went into the living room. You think it's a giant? Mother and Father were watching television and having tea and cake. Frances said, "There's a giant in my room. May I watch television?" "No," said Mother and Father. Frances said, "The giant wants to get me. May I have some cake?" Father gave Frances a piece of cake and said, "How do you know he wants to get you?" "Isn't that what giants do?" "Not always. Why don't you ask him what he wants?" Frances went back to her room. She went right over to the giant and said, "What do you want, giant?" By the way, that's what TVs used to look like, my friends. They had antennas and no remote control, and you got like 4 channels. She took a good look at the giant, but there was no giant. It was just the chair and her bathrobe, so she went to bed again. Frances was not very tired and did not close her eyes. She looked up at the ceiling. There was a crack in the ceiling, and she thought about it. There's the not giant. And here's Frances, staring at the crack. Maybe something will come out of the crack, she thought. Maybe bugs or spiders. Maybe something with a lot of skinny legs in the dark. She went to get Father. He was brushing his teeth. Leah likes brushing teeth, huh? Frances said, something scary is going to come out of the crack in the ceiling, and I forgot to brush my teeth. Father said, you brush your teeth and I will have a look. So Frances brushed her teeth. Father came back and said, nothing could come out of such a little crack, but if you're worried about it, get somebody to help you watch. You can take turns. Frances told her teddy bear to watch. They took turns for a while, then Frances got tired of it and let Teddy do all the watching. Frances got up and went to the bathroom. When she came back, she was not sleepy at all. The window was open and the wind was blowing the curtains. I don't like the way those curtains are moving. Maybe there's something waiting, very soft and quiet. Maybe it moves the curtains just to see if I am watching. She went into Mother and Father's room to tell them. They were asleep. Frances stood by Father's side of the bed, very quietly, right near his head. She was so quiet that she was the quietest thing in the room. She was so quiet that Father woke up all of a sudden with his eyes wide open and said, "Umph!" Frances said, "There is something moving the curtains. May I sleep with you?" "Listen, Frances. Do you want to know why the curtains are moving?" "Why?" "That's the wind's job," said Father. "Every night the wind has to go around and blow all the curtains." "How can the wind have a job?" asked Frances. Now this is the page my mama changed. "Everybody has a job," said Father. "I have to go to my office every morning at 9 o'clock. That's my job. You have to go to sleep so that you can be wide awake for school tomorrow. That's your job." "I know, but," Father said, "I have not finished. If the wind does not blow the curtains, he will be out of a job. And if I don't go to the office, I'll be out of a job. And if you do not go to sleep now, do you know what will happen to you?" I'll be out of a job," said Frances. "No, you won't get to play with your friends." "Good night," said Frances, and went back to her room. She closed the window and got into bed. Suddenly there was a noise at the window. She heard bump and thump. "I know something will get me this time," she said. She jumped out of bed and went to tell Mother and Father. When she got to their door, she thought about it some more and decided not to tell them. She went back to her room. Frances heard the noise at the window again. She pulled the covers over her head. "I wonder what it is." Her little feet sticking out. "If it is something very bad, Father will have to come and chase it away." She pulled off the covers and stood on her bed so she could look out the window. She saw a moth bumping against the window. You see it right there? It's a big moth. Bump and thump, his wings smacked the glass. Whack and smack, whack and spack made Frances think. And all of a sudden, she was tired. She lay down and closed her eyes so she could think better, she thought. There were so many giants and tigers and scary and exciting things before that I'm pretty tired now. That is just a moth, and he is only doing his job, the same as the wind. His job is bumping and thumping, and my job is to sleep. So she went to sleep and did not get out of bed again until Mother called her for breakfast. The end. My friends, I hope you have a good rest of your Monday and that you can look in the world for all of the people who are doing wonderful things, who are helping and making dragons for us to enjoy and are sharing and caring and loving and reaching out. And I want you to have a look at my shirt. I have to stand up. We are on this earth to love. You've seen that before from my friends in the band called The Many, and a reminder that that's why we're here. And this shelter at home time and the wearing of the masks and the washing of our hands and all of those things are part of the way that we share our love with everybody around us and everybody in every corner of the world. So until tomorrow, what do you think I want you to remember? How very much I love you. Bye-bye.